lot of clients were coming after a long day at the office. They were drained. They didn't want to talk. I noticed the difference from the client coming after a workout. The dopamine is flooding in your reward system, your attention span is increased, and you're more happy about yourself. Your inner dialogue is positive.
Kenny Santucci back with another episode of the Strong New York podcast, and I'm very excited about today's episode because it's something that I think could help a lot of people. And as always here at Strong New York, we are trying to make New Yorkers stronger with other strong New Yorkers who are sharing their gifts. Today, I am joined by Dr. Arianna Masotti, all the way from Venice, Italy. Beautiful place. I've actually never gotten to go there, but I hear the most beautiful people come from Italy, as you can see. She's a clinical psychologist who has discovered that, or kind of just has brought in light to the idea that wellness can advance and help us out mentally. Who would have thought? We've been talking about this for a long time, and now we have clinical research. So Bloome Wellness is your company.
Yes.
And give us a kind of an overview of like what you're trying to do and like what's actually, what you've discovered through wellness.
Absolutely. So when I got my license in Italy and then in UK, I didn't want to be one of the many psychologists. So I pitched the CEO of 2 gyms and I said, look, exercise is a good way to release stress. Yeah. But actually, there is a deeper need to talk. So I opened my therapy studio, 5 minutes walking from 2 gyms. And for 3 years, I noticed a pattern. A lot of clients were coming after a long day at the office, JP Morgan, Milbank. They were drained, burnout. They didn't want to talk. So traditional therapy takes a long time. Sometimes you open the Pandora box and you suffer even more. What I wanted to do was to blend therapy with coaching to help my clients to reach their highest potential. I noticed the difference from the client coming after a workout. What happens? The dopamine is flooding in your reward system. There is a part in your brain called nucleus accumbens. In that moment, you are more open to talk. Your attention span is increased. And you're more happy about yourself. Your inner dialogue is positive. So I noticed that this client not only progressed, but progress in a faster way, in a sustainable way. So we weren't looking for quick fixes. Now there is a pill literally for anything. But actually, they did the work. And now I see, like, for example, women deciding to go for that day, or guys asking for that promotion, They actually change.
See, one of the debates that I was having with somebody last year on this same topic, I had made a comment on my social media just saying, people want to talk about their problems, but not actually do anything about them. And when you actually start getting the wheels in motion and you start doing something to help yourself, then the chances of you succeeding go way up. And I think that's the problem. Everybody wants to like talk about their feelings. I love your approach to psychology. It's not just, yes, you can talk about it. I'm not saying don't talk about it. I'm saying when you start to get the wheels in motion, when you start to use your body, like I believe that the gym and exercise and movement is the gateway drug to a better version of yourself.
Absolutely.
It has to be the first step. So as soon as we take that first step through the door and we start to exercise and we start to move, then the psychology, the talking about it becomes a lot easier and a lot more fluent, correct?
Absolutely. Think about any classes that you attend. They ask you at the very end, do you want to stay, guys, for the workout, or do you want to go out? What I'm doing is stay. Don't dissipate the dopamine, actually use it, and now we're doing the work. This is why it's post-workout therapy. So I created a whole manual, basically with how to deal the first session, continue the session, and it is like basically a framework. Okay, let's connect the dots together. Let's zoom out and look at your life from a different perspective, from a bigger perspective. Because most of the people walk blind of their lives. Either they keep on going the same 9-to-5 job and they're not happy, or they're stuck in a relationship where there is no love, just routine. So
I was just with a friend of mine, my buddy John, and we were doing an experiment. He's been doing this all over the city, stopping people before they go into like a McDonald's. And we said, hey, we'll go and buy you a healthier lunch at some of these other places if you're open to it. And I think a lot of people, now we got shut down probably 20 times. and there were all these people who clearly, you know, I was heavy, I was out of shape, I know what it feels like to be uncomfortable, but you don't realize how good you can feel until you start to put the wheels in motion, until you start moving for yourself. And I think that's the hardest part, is for people to overcome this feeling of complacency, this feeling of, okay, well, I'm okay now, I'm kind of comfortable, but in reality, you're actually uncomfortable in this space, and I don't want to do anything to get out of it. And I think what you're doing is really smart. I haven't heard of anybody else doing this, because people are more likely to open up. You know, I don't know. Have you been to Othership yet?
Yesterday.
Yes.
Yesterday.
So it's great.
literally.
So more people are more willing to open up and talk at these sessions. So for those of you guys out there who don't know what Othership is, it's a company out of Toronto. They have one here in New York. They build them all over the country. But basically, it's a sauna cold plunge therapy. And then, like before and afterwards, people can share their thoughts and their feelings. And more people, what I've noticed in the 20 times that I've been there, is that people are more inclined to share their feelings and open up after a session than they are before a session, because everybody's kind of closed off. They don't want to do anything. But when your dopamine levels get going and you start to feel good and your endorphins are going crazy and there's people around you and you know you have that bonding experience, then you're more willing to share.
Exactly. Yesterday, literally, I did the sauna, I did the cold plunge. I felt amazing.
Yeah.
And then I was carrying the weight of the whole week, you know, because, for example, as a psychologist, you need to be resilient and strong, because I have 20 people now in my head.
Yeah.
Alongside
everybody's dumping their shit on you. Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
That's how miserable.
No, but I have a very, very strong relationship with my clients.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm very selective at the beginning, and then when I start the work, I carry it for a long time. But what I mean, it was like in that room, a guy opened up, say like, I was worried I was about to get fired yesterday. Wow, this guy was like smiling in the cold plunge. I was like, wow, I would never imagine. Another guy was like, I'm going through a very, very difficult breakup. And it was like a domino effect, and everybody opened up. And I was like, wow, you work in New York, maybe you're attending a conference and everybody's like super self-confident and is a strong New Yorker. Put down the mask.
Yeah.
We are human beings, you know? And
everybody's got shit going on.
Yeah. And we thrive when we are in a community. So my goal is actually building a community of like-minded people that are willing to do their work out, sweat, and then open up when they feel like. But then you want to return to the same class, like, oh, I'm gonna meet my friend and my other friend, and we're gonna talk about anxious attachment style. Yeah. Why I always go after the unavailable man. I'm gonna talk about body image, why I restrict all day and then I binge at night, using a food to fill a void, you know? But I think it just happened by chance, because I literally saw the pattern of serving my clients, working out, and then coming to my therapy studio.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is, like I said, I admire it. I think you're onto something. My question is, like, how do you implement that, right? How do you break down that wall? Like, do you start with your clients? What's your strategy on how to build this? Because you've clearly built, you were in Italy doing it, you were in London doing it, now you're here in New York. How do you get this going?
So now I'm evaluating different partners and selecting the best. This is the B2B stage. So I want to plug in therapy inside the gym space. So imagine when you go to a gym or a wellness facility, you have the physiotherapy room, you have the cryotherapy room, but you don't have the therapy room. So basically a space that after a long day at work, you do your workout and then you let it out. Oh, tomorrow I have a stressful meeting, I don't know what to do about it. I have my safe sanctuary there. And I optimize the time, because I don't have to commute from a clinic to a gym. Is all in one at 360. So this is the first stage, not only one-to-one, but also group therapy. So after the last class of the day, you can do the post-workout therapy class. The industry is saturated with Pilates and boxing and everything. This is something new.
Yes, yeah.
And the second stage is to build my own center.
This episode is powered by Celsius. Now, whether you're in the gym or you're on the run or, hey, you're just doing a podcast, grab yourself a can of Celsius and live fit.
What I've noticed in a lot of the new construction in a lot of spaces is this mindfulness room. You know, these rooms that actually give people some sort of peace. You know, especially here in New York City, you walk outside and it is overload. It's input overload. It's the sound, it's the people, it's everything. And there's not a place for people to come together and kind of share their feelings and feel more comfortable both physically and mentally. When you're doing these things, can you do them in sessions, or like how are you doing it? Is it one-on-one? Like how's this practice happen?
So my goal is to have some therapists inside of the gym space that can do the one-to-one, and then you can do the group therapy session. Eventually, have you ever read Dante's Inferno?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
So flip it.
I love it. Yeah.
I was in Lake Como one day, and I was learning about marketing because I have a background as a psychologist, but to be an entrepreneur, you need to learn about finance and marketing and everything. It was like, this is the funnel. I reverse it, and I was like, imagine that you arrive, you work out. As soon as you progress in your journey, you have sauna, cold plunge, and then therapy booths. So you can have the one-to-one rooms with a professional, qualified professional, but also you can have like a group session. And also I created a manual to train personal trainer in post-workout coaching in that sense, because imagine that you're working out and then you sit down on the mat with the same person. Okay, now I'm gonna allow you to talk for 30 minutes, and I create a manual for them to how to deal with the first session, how to deal with the dropout, how to read the nonverbal behavior. Because if you think about that, naturally people open up with not only the personal trainer, but with the hairdresser, with the button and everything.
Well, people, it just feels good. I know, just being a human for 43 years, when you talk about the stuff that's bothering you or the things that you feel closed off about. You know, I was just talking about this the other day with someone, how there's a lot of things that we're so proud we want to share, but we don't want to share the things that we're not proud of. But when we do, it feels like there's a weight taken off our back. You know, there's a lot of things about, you know, my past, you know, not being that smart, not being that successful, not like all the things that we wrestle with that kind of sit on our mind, that if we speak about it, I feel like it just kind of lightens the load a little bit. I know from a clinical standpoint. I mean,
this is called a negative core belief. I am not good enough.
Yeah.
So you're more selective to the cues in the environment that are confirming the negative core belief. Where actually, change the music. Try to focus on the small achievements, you know, the good things about your life. Because we associate vulnerability with weakness. But I think there is a lot of strength in vulnerability. It's like, I'm able to share my success, but also I'm able to share with my trusted people. So when it's not okay, you know, you're an entrepreneur, I imagine that your life is like a roller coaster, highs and lows. It's part of the journey, you know? But it's only when you share, when you, as you said, you offload, that you can move on. Otherwise you implode.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just, I believe that from a physical standpoint too, because like when you're carrying this extra weight, you know, it starts to pull you down. You know, your negative thoughts, your, you know, all those things start to lead to bad behaviors. I was just with a buddy of mine who's a bodybuilder, very smart guy. And we were talking, and just to call him a bodybuilder, I'm not doing him justice. He's a PhD, very, very smart, very successful guy. And he was saying that there are like 4 things that make people unsuccessful. I've kind of adopted this in the last 2 weeks since I've heard it from him because it's so good. And he's like, physical pain slows people down from being successful. Stress slows people down. Energy loss. And we were talking about how the gym becomes the gateway drug to all those things improving, which allows you to bloom, for lack of a better word, into the person that you're supposed to be. Because if I could get rid of my physical pain, if I could get rid of you know, the lack of energy and like kind of gain more energy and the stress levels that I'm under, if I can improve all those things in my life and this self-doubting belief that I have, then I could progress and become better. And that's why I've always challenged myself. I love doing jujitsu. I love going for runs. When you do something physical, now it allows you to believe that you're doing something better mental. So that's why I really like what you're talking about, where after I do something like that, like I went to, after I finished my, I talk about this a lot, when I finished my first Ironman, I was like, oh my God, I could do anything now. Like you're riding this high.
Yes.
So there's
Yes.
this dopamine level that's released. Kind of walk us through like the medical or the clinical idea behind that.
So we are we're about to publish an article, is now on peer review in collaboration with university. Basically, the dopamine is flooding your reward system, and there is a part called the nucleus accumbens, and in that moment, you are literally more open, your inner dialogue is more positive, and your attention span is increased. I call it the dopaminergic window. It lasts 20-40 minutes. That's the optimum moment. And most of the people dissipate that dopamine. Why? Because think about the changing room. As soon as you finish your workout, you scroll on Instagram and you like that picture. And it's like, oh, I was feeling good with my body, but I actually, like this is better. Or you put on your headphones and you go to the subway and you eat a protein bar, plenty of sugar without even realizing that. So what happens? These are avoidance mechanisms. You avoid to actually embrace your emotion, positive or negative, by scrolling, drinking a glass of wine, smoking a cigarette, vaping, whatever you can think of.
So it's all this input.
Yeah, instead of taking the most out of it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I practice what I preach. After or before my session, I work out. Because after listening, let's say, 6-7 clients a day, I need to let it out as well. You know, we are all human beings, you know.
Yeah, you got to dump those emotions somewhere. Yeah, I was saying to somebody, I forget where I read it, and I wish I could remember where I heard about this. We go through so many highs and lows. And some people kind of hold on to these things. Whether I win or lose, I try to give it like what the recommended dose was, like 2 minutes. Whether you win or lose, you take 2 minutes, you take it all in, you enjoy it for the 2 minutes, because beyond 2 minutes, you're like kind of stretching it out a little bit. But you take it in for the 2 minutes and then you move on. It's almost this idea of neutral thinking, where it's like nothing's good and nothing's bad. It's just how life goes. And you want to enjoy it, but you don't want it to rule your life. You know, if some people suffer loss, whether it's death in the family or a loss of a job or whatever it may be, and that weighs on them and hangs on them, and it deters them from being able to move forward. Why is that?
Well, it depends, because, as I said, I don't put people in boxes or categorize. I think that every story is unique. What I'm trying to do in my therapy session, and I want to scale by passing this method to other therapists and eventually to personal trainer doing post-workout coaching therapy.
I'd be interested in that too.
Okay.
I think that's genius. Yeah.
Thank you. It's like, okay, think about this. You're sitting on the front row. You're watching the movie of your life. Think about the main character. You may experience loss, you may experience a breakdown or a breakup, or you just got redundant. Think about the main character. How is that person walking, talking, behaving with other people inside of the room? Now zoom out. You are the author. You are the author. So if you can change something, what would you change? This is called the real self and the ideal self. Yeah. The ideal self is the Kenny who has perfect relationship, perfect car, perfect career. We're not far from that. But most of the time it doesn't exist, the ideal self. It's the picture that we see on social media. But the bigger the gap between the real self and the ideal self, the bigger the frustration. So you are the author, you can change the script. If you notice that you walk into a room with the shoulders like this, speaking in an unapologetic manner, change the script. Just people don't stop and think about what they're doing, and they're repeating the same dysfunctional pattern. Mm-hmm. So imagine, for example, communication. There is a curve. Passive, assertive, and aggressive. Do you speak with the person that you care about, or even with your colleagues, in an apologetic manner? Sorry, if I don't bother you, like, can you please, send me that email? They're not gonna respect you. Or on the other side of the spectrum, in an aggressive manner, it's like, I told you, I sent you the email 2 days ago, you never replied to me. Be assertive, You need to be able to set boundaries. You need to be able to express your need in a firm way, but only after you did the work. For example, the work that we did during the session, Awareness, thoughts, action, you implement. It's not, traditional therapy. Okay, I suffer because of this, because my mother was like that. No. Thoughts, action, okay, I want to implement this and be assertive rather than passive or aggressive. Behaviors. Why? You need to be consistent. You need to repeat the same action until it gets boring. Only then you can master it.
It's so true. I think there's so many people who are so ready to blame outside influences on the way they operate. So many people.
It's locus of control. Just to tell you, like, is internal or external? This is Bandura. Internal is that I take ownership of my own action. External is like, oh, I failed the exam because the professor was not right with me, or because it was too difficult. When you fail the exam and you can admit, oh, it was my fault and I should have studied enough, then you empower yourself.
Yeah, I think there needs to be more of that. I read a great book years ago, Jocko Willick's Extreme Ownership.
Oh, I didn't read it.
Yeah, it's an amazing book, and I talk about it all the time. And it's the way I felt, but he just simplifies it and puts it into a really nice, neat little package. And it's the idea of taking ownership, no matter what happens in your life, no matter what goes wrong, it's your responsibility. And the more ownership you take of that, the more ownership you have over your life. You don't let other people dictate what goes on.
In a relationship too, think about the last time you've been on a date. At the beginning, you don't know anything about that person. Automatically, because you are looking for familiarity, you tend to fill the gaps with the idea that you create
Somebody
about
else. Yeah.
And I'm sure that it happened to you or or to a friend and everything, that when things don't go in the way that you imagine, it's like, I thought you were different. But actually that person was not different. It was the same. It's like, because you create the idea in your mind. Take ownership, take ownership of your action and your beliefs as well.
I agree. All right, well, listen, we're going to break right here and we're going to go grab a coffee real quick because not every day I get to interview a beautiful woman who wants a coffee, and we're going to go grab one. On a less serious note, I'm going to fire some questions at you. As an Italian woman from one of the most beautiful cities in the world, I'm going to ask you some questions about the difference between real Italians and then what you guys call fake Italians. Us New Jersey, New Yorkers.
I didn't expect this.
So Italian food in New York versus Italian food in Italy.
Italy. It's different. Here, I really like Fasano restaurant. It's amazing. Because I think that Americans associate Italian food with pizza and pasta, but there is so much more. I grew up in a city where we live with seafood,
Yeah,
and
it's mostly seafood, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like on the coast anyway, at least?
They have this little tapas called cicchetti, and you put like a fish on top. It's amazing. Polenta.
Sauce or gravy?
I don't put sauce. I put olive oil.
Olive oil on everything. Where do you find the best Italian food in New York?
As I mentioned before, I think Fasano, Novità as well, and then a friend of mine has a pizza place called Sanganapule as well. A lot of places actually.
Real Italians from Italy, like in the last couple, I could say 30, 40 years. Are you guys offended by the stereotypes of what Italians are here?
So you know what's the typical conversation? It's like, you're from Italy, oh my God, Venice is amazing. Is it floating? Every single time.
Really?
Or they start speaking with the hands like this, pizza, pasta, macaroni, and you're like...
That is a very New York, New Jersey thing, for sure.
I can't stand it.
Italian Americans, there's definitely a difference. But what are we doing that similar to you guys? Or,
We are warm, we are open, we are enthusiastic about life. I think that this is why I'm also here in New York, because I have a lot of American friends. We click, we bond. Like if you meet someone in the bar, you're not afraid to open up, and like instead of other Nordic places where you actually people are closed up and they open up just with alcohol. But yeah, I think we're very similar in that way.
Yeah. No, I definitely see that. Yeah.
And family oriented. You
Yeah.
know, that's very important.
And now, how often you get back home?
I'm basically the psychologist with the suitcase. So I'm like Italy, New York, LA, London. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah.
So you have business in LA as well?
I go there to do events a lot.
Now, how long have you been in New York?
So 6 months.
Okay. I think it takes such strength, both mentally and physically, to move to a city like this.
This is my
Find your way.
second time around. The
Okay.
first time was moving from Italy to London, and it was very hard. Because at that point I didn't even speak the language. I have a mission. I want to scale. I want a better future for myself. And so I basically converted everything I studied in Italian about psychology and I translated it in English. And that for me was literally mind-opening. It was like, wow, everybody stays in the small village, they get married, they have kids, and then they, I was like, but if you step out, there is a world outside.
Yeah, of course.
And then New York, I think is also, I think for that reason, it's very expensive because it has a high barrier. It is for the 1%. Either go big or go home.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's definitely a soundbite right there. In New York, it's either go big or go home. It's funny because I grew up in New Jersey and I feel the same way about that. Like, there are a lot of people who live across the river who don't realize that there's a whole other world outside of New Jersey. Like, they grew up in a small town, they never leave that town, and they think that's all they could ever do.
But New York teaches you a lot. Teaches you to be persistent even when you have the downs. You always need to pick yourself up. You always have to fight. But also good things are happening. You can go out on a Monday night. There is plenty of theaters and pop-up shops and events and book clubs. And
Well, you probably get invited to a lot of stuff just because you're a hot woman. You're a hot doctor. So, it's very not as common as you think here. But one of the things I was going to say was, here versus anywhere else, I think there's definitely different archetypes, and maybe you could talk to the clinical standpoint of this. There are different personality archetypes that travel to New York. People who come here are looking for something bigger. They are looking to fulfill this maybe void in their life. I know for myself, I used to sit across the river. I used to work at a shipping yard in New Jersey, and I used to stare at New York, and I'm like, that's where I need to be. I need to be there because that's where things are happening, and if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. I think there's a lot of people who feel that way about New York City, and you could be from anywhere in the world. What is it? What's going on biologically in their brain? Like, is there a trigger missing, or is there?
For me, it happened by chance. Last year, my best friend Alessia that you met, she said, Ari, do you want to visit me for Halloween? You're always working, you also need to live your life. And I just arrived here and I literally fell in love with the city. And I said, wow, I see myself here. And it was a big step because I love London. I had the most amazing time. For a long time, I thought it was an out, like Kierkegaard, but it's an at, because here you feel like an energy that you can do anything that you want to achieve. And for me, it was the mentality of the high achiever. So like, I made it, I want to make it even bigger. And I want to pass a bigger message, basically. But it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. It's in big cities, you can feel alone, you can feel isolated. If you don't have a strong community, it's very tough.
Well, I'd say that all the time, that New York City is the loneliest city in the world. There are so many people here. I mean, we're sitting outside, it's 5 o'clock. If you go anywhere else, pretty much in the United States, you're not going to see this many people on one block. Now, there's a line of people waiting to get into a bookstore.
Yeah.
There are people sitting outside, but most people are sitting alone. These guys are hanging out, having a good time. Most people are sitting alone. In a city full of 8 million people.
We have never been so connected that we are so disconnected.
Yes, but what's crazy to me about that is that people want to be around us. Like, this guy could go sit on his phone at home and do the same thing. People have always gravitated towards New York, and it's always been a lonely city. I think there's something about being in a city and just knowing there's other people around that it puts most people at ease. It's like our heart rates are higher and our blood pressure is higher because there's so much going on. There's so much input. It's the lights, it's the sound, it's the people, it's everything coming in. You know, and there's not a moment to down-regulate your heart rate. However, I think there's a level of comfort that this provides just knowing there's other people around.
Since I arrived here, I barely slept.
Yeah. There's always something to do.
Yeah, always, honestly.
Yeah. I love the energy of the city. I think when I'm not here, I kind of miss it. Like I was just in Las Vegas, and even in Las Vegas, which you'd think would be busy and rowdy and things going on, I was there and I just was like, where is everything? Even in a casino, you're like, it's kind of dead. I think Vegas is missing that spark it once had.
Sometimes I think it's the delivery of society because you have plenty of options. If you think about friends, if you think about dating, it's like constantly change, and it takes a strong mind to actually say, okay, I want at least to have a base, you know, the group of friends that I'm seeing on a Saturday, you know, just to catch up after a long week at work, because otherwise you're constantly changing like a tornado.
What are 3 things that you could think that people could implement into their lives? Like, what are some actionable things that people could do right now? Because everybody's like, when I always tell people, everybody's like, do you have a therapist? I'm like, yeah, I go to jiu-jitsu 5 times a week and that's my therapy. And in reality, I do feel better. That movement makes me feel better. I'm around other people. It allows me to release aggression. But at the same time, you know, there is a calming feeling to it. But there are a lot of people who, one, don't have that. They're unwilling to do that work. But they're like, you should go see a therapist. And to me, I don't find any release in me just sitting there talking one-on-one.
You need to have a feedback.
Yeah. What are 3 things that people could do if they, one, can't afford a therapist or don't want to go out and do anything physical? What could we help people with?
First of all, it's how you start your day, your morning routine. I used to wake up and check my email straight away, and your brain is telling you danger, danger, danger. You need to be efficient in survival mode, but I was already stressed. Write down or think about at least 3 things that you're grateful for, and that is not pop psychology. You need to remember when I say that we're focusing on the negative things, just remind yourself, okay, this week is good because I'm gonna see this person, I'm gonna do this shooting, I'm gonna do this event. Okay, 3 things you're grateful for. Then you start your day. Second thing, use less your phone. Yes, as a professional, we need to use it because we need to pass a bigger message and post content and schedule our meetings. But when you can, be present in the here and now. Not fly to the future and worry about the future or ruminate about the past, but try to be in the here and now. And third thing, at least, I do it every day, but like some movement. It can be a walk, you know, don't take the subway until the office, but just stop before and walk a little bit.
I like that, yeah.
Or,
it's a great little simple hack
take the
to get some extra steps in.
Yeah, if you can, take the stairs instead of the elevator.
What I've been, in the past probably, I'd say 10 years, I've really gotten into manifestation. Writing things down, saying it out loud, truly believing in what I want out of life. What is the science behind that? Or is there any science behind it?
I'm not that familiar with the science behind manifestation. Because basically I studied for 10 years evidence-based theory.
Yeah.
I think it's only when I moved to America that I start familiarizing with manifestation. But I think it's another way to say, look, if you're open to welcome positive things in your life, they're gonna find you. If you have good energy, you attract people with good energy, you know, in a nutshell. Then, of course, for years it was like a very intellectual nerd student of psychology and everything. But now I'm also open to these things as well.
My grandmother, she was from Italy. She was a farm girl and then moved to the States and she worked on a farm. And one of the things she always used to talk about is, she used to say when we were younger, she's like, you'll catch more flies with honey than you will with vinegar. And I was like, the hell is she talking about? Like, I'm like 5 years old. I'm like, why should you catch more flies than I? But it's when you're sweeter to people and you're better to people and you put that energy out
Yes.
there, it comes back tenfold. And it might not come back right away, but like the more I put good vibes out there, the more things that I do for other people, I feel like the more it comes back to me.
Same. For me, I have no interest to say like, yes, I'm the best at what I'm doing and everything. No, be authentic, be
Yeah.
humble, you
Yeah.
know, work hard in silence and
Yeah.
let then success be your noise.
But I think in our culture, especially here in America, we love trolls. We love people who like feed on other people's souls. Like if somebody's down, I feel like the American way sometimes is to kick them while they're down.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody's having a bad day, it's like shit on them even more.
I made my little success earlier in life, in my 20s, and a lot of people comment she was lucky just because she did this, she did that, you know, but like actually appreciate someone else's success. There is space for everybody.
Yeah.
You just need to stand up, go and get it.
Scarcity mindset, I think, is another huge issue here. Like everybody thinks, well, if you're successful, then I can't be successful. I'd be interested into finding out why we feel that way so much. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself, but I talk myself out of it a lot of times because some of the people that I do business with here in New York City do the exact same thing as me. I support their businesses, and it's never like, well, I lost business because of them.
No, but
Like,
also
it's not the truth. It's not the case.
this, for example, is important. As a therapist, I see this scenario over and over. And so you understand that from the CEO of a company till the influencer on Instagram, till the waitress in hospitality, we all have flaws. So even if I see, for example, now, it's almost like I train a muscle. I'm not touched by comparison anymore.
Yeah.
Because I peek behind the curtains.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know that even that person has his own struggles and anxiety, but it required me here to arrive at this point.
Yeah. It took me a while to get to realize the people that I thought were the most successful
They're
have
struggling
this-
the most. I
Yeah,
see that every day.
Yeah.
They're struggling the most because you always want more and more
Yeah.
and more. And you're never satisfied, you know?
Do you think that's a cultural difference that we have with other countries here in America? Like, it's never enough here. Like, everybody needs to be a billionaire. Nobody, for instance, the guys who own Impact Kitchen, we were talking about, there are people who work for Impact Kitchen in Toronto that take pride in their job. They're like, this is what I do for a living. It's a noble job. Whereas like here, it's hard to find people because everybody thinks they should be an influencer. They should be the center of attention. They should be a billionaire. Like everybody thinks they should be the top of the food chain.
I don't think it's a cultural difference because I'm Italian, but I decided to come here. But for example, I noticed the difference is my small village, Udine. When I go there, there is like a broader middle class, and so you find joy even in having like a dinner at home with your friends. The most relaxing and joyful moments I experienced this year, despite like trying to building an empire and try to see the clients and work on the business and everything and try to do everything as a solo female founder.
One of the things that I had touched on, I don't know if you saw my talk with Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese, and
Yes.
yeah,
I was there.
So there was a point where I was saying, you know, people could admit that they're single. I always talk about the importance of having good friends.
Yeah.
And people feel some sort of shame if they don't have a significant other, but like people will admit that they're single. Whereas no one wants to admit they don't have really good friends. You know, for me, it's like having really good friends is such an important part of life.
Yeah.
And people don't value that as much. I think when people meet somebody like a significant other, they cut off all their friends, they move away, and they're like, oh, I have the one person I need. And then when that God forbid, or whatever happens, that falls apart, people then go back to those friends and look for them for support. You know, what do you do you value, or do you talk to your clients about the importance of friendship? Just as much as I talk, I think exercise and friendship are two things that everyone should be fostering more.
For me, the most beautiful things is to be able to host a dinner for my friends. And then I remember even in Italy, we were speaking about religion, philosophy, politics, theater, literature, everything, you know. And I have some friends who play the guitar, other friends like are writing like me, and you create this special circle. In every city, I changed so many cities in my life and houses as well. What always kept me grounded was having a circle of trusted friends, because in order to pursue your business sometimes you cannot, I mean, in the past I needed to cut some relationship in order to pursue my business and everything, but what kept me grounded was having friends, you know. And I see how many people are isolated. It's when you're isolated that you basically feed the fear and the self-doubt and the rumination and the worrying. But actually, if you say like, actually today I'm not feeling that good,
Yeah.
can you come over? And you have a friend coming over and you just like, you know, just watch a movie and be together, that makes a difference.
Yeah. How often do you prescribe that to people? Because for me, I think there's what we're missing in healthcare today is prescribing the most human things, right? Movement should be number one.
Yes.
Get out there and like if I'm depressed sitting in my room, it's happened to me. If I get up too late on a Saturday or a Sunday and I don't really have much to do and I sit in bed or I'm sitting in my apartment for too long, I start to get a little stir crazy. I have to get out. As soon as I get out, I start moving, things change. It's the same thing with friendships. Like when I start to feel self-doubt, I feel like things are falling apart. I need to call somebody. How often are they teaching that in school to have people like, hey, the simplest things for you to do is reach out to a friend, go move, go exercise, go for a run or walk, whatever it is. Is that something that they teach you in school?
No, they don't teach that in school, but for example, I grew up playing sports, so you always have that group of friends. I used to play 8 years of basketball. My father is a football player, he played all his life football, and you have like all these group of friends. But for me, the perfect example is a Sunday. Like, maybe you go out on a Saturday and you wake up on a Sunday and go over. If you stay alone all day in bed, 100% you can experience anxiety symptoms or depressive symptoms. But if actually you can go out, but moderate, you know, like alcohol and everything, then it makes a difference, because on a Sunday you can actually go out and meet your friend for a brunch and for a walk, or like to do a workout together.
Yeah.
At your facility. You know?
I think that what I sell on a daily basis is I try to get people to, one, build muscle tissue and, you know, get healthier in a physical way, but also communicate with somebody else. Like in the gym, you either work out with a personal trainer or I pair you up with somebody else to work out with for a session, because now that gives you an opportunity, at least for that hour, to communicate with somebody else, to go through some sort of struggle with somebody else, because that ultimately will help 99% of people get through a hard day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you on that.
Well, we're going to go through a little workout now on the subject of working out. We're going to go back to the gym. We'll hit a little workout, and then we'll go through, maybe I'll get a little therapy session. Let's do it.